Hey, good morning. I'm the Forward with Playboy, and this is the Forward with Playboy's morning show on Thursday, April 11th, 2024. And we are glad you're here. And we'll see who shows up this morning as we're going through the timeline and talking about some topics. And as always, what are we here for? We like to cover, and when I say we, it's usually me and Bunny in some semblance. And we'll be on at 11 this morning together for the morning hustle. But in the morning show, I like to cover those things that are game, pickup, relationships, and sex, the big four. And we try to stay in our lane. Again, like we fall under the red pill umbrella, which is really like men's rights and intersectional dynamics. And, there's more debating, more strategic issues under the red pill. But when you come to our timeline, or if you're reaching out to us, she and I, we generally try to stay in our lane of tactical, usable, on the ground information that will help you move a girl from complete stranger to naked in your bed, all the way to 20th and 30th year marriage anniversaries. Because even long-term marriage, as much, if not more than single guys, need game to keep the spark going. So we'll cover more more tactical application of game in relationships and one-on-one when you come to our timeline. That's what we're here for, just making your life better. We're going to jump into, we'll start with a maxim, starting with maxim number 12 from Chateau Artiste. Let me get this up for us. As you can see, maxim number 12. And this is a classic. There may be 3 or 4 that are at the top of the board as far as like maxims that he covered. All of them are important. All of them are memorable, but some will play more into your day-to-day life, and almost always you're texting or communicating through electronics in some manner, DMs, texting. And it's easy to fuck up. It's easy to become too comfortable and you start kind of losing your edge. So maxim number 12, if you're comfortable with your game being splashed across a jumbotron for thousands of people to read, then you're doing it right. So many guys, you have to understand, especially if you're like on the dating apps or you're meeting girls on the street, if she doesn't really know you and she's not invested in it, let's say you've not fucked her 4 or 5 times, she's not really that invested into you, she will screenshot your text and share them with her friends, share them on the internet. She'll share them, but embarrassing you is not of her concern. So you need to be aware of that. And also the quality of your texting, if it's so bad, and it doesn't have to be that bad because most guys are absolutely horrible. But just know that when you text it, just take a split second to reflect on what you're about to send. And would you want other people to read this? Would you want your buddies in the locker room to read it? Would you want your friends to read it? Is it embarrassing? Because so many guys will kind of just give this weak behavior. They use a lot of emoticons. And I think a lot of it, and what I've noticed is if they're texting a lot with girls that are very feminine, and they text a lot in that kind of feminine voice, the guys will tend to pick it up over time. The worst offenders I've really seen as far as texting badly are guys that have teenage daughters, because the teenage daughters text him throughout the day. And so he picks up on those habits and then he just carries them into all of his communication, which is kind of funny, but it's not the best thing for him. But you need to know that if the test is the Jumbotron test, if you would not want other people to see it on a Jumbotron, say at the Super Bowl, and it shows your face and then your text next to it, if that's okay with you, then it's good to go. What we try to kind of convey, if you're texting, what we call it like texting like an alpha, is you want somebody, if they were to read your text, they go, man, I bet this guy gets laid a lot. That's what you want to see. And I want to give you a good example of a classic alpha text. And there's certain things. I mean, this is as good of a perfect text exchange that anyone could ever hope for. And it's between a girl named Elizabeth Holmes, who ended up going to jail, and her boyfriend, who was also, her boss kind of guiding her through the scam, Balwani. So she says, you are breeze in the desert for me, my water and ocean, meant only to be together, tiger. And his response was, okay. That is an alpha text exchange. That it ended up being put up in court, so it's as close to a jumbotron as you can get. It's a perfect alpha text exchange. Shows his irrational self-confidence. He does not give a fuck really what she thinks from him. He's not confirming her beliefs. He's amused. A word ratio, you're always looking at that 2/3. You give 2 for every 3 that a girl, 2 of every 3 things a girl gives you in return. And this is even better. It's a 17-2 word ratio. The golden ratio, which is the 3-2, is observed, and the jumbotron test is passed. This is as good a text exchange as a man can ever hope for. Maybe he could have said K, but it almost is too flippant. Okay is perfect. And it can't be impressed upon, because if you read this, you see that she's chasing him. And that's where women want to be. They are happiest when they're chasing a man that they find to be high value. And that's where they want to be. And as you can see, she's chasing him. And this is just a perfect example of good texting. So sometimes it's easier to just focus in on the good texting. And examples, again, there's no emoticons. There's not too many words. There's not any punctuation. I'm surprised he even capitalized the O. You'll see that there will be just less punctuation, no capitalization. It's just a very flat, because men have fewer emotions, and that's okay. Girls will read into that. She'll pick that okay apart for 20 minutes after that. What does he really mean by this? So that is the jumbotron test, and you want to get good at it to where it just becomes automatic. And that's the real deal. I hope that makes sense to you. And if you have any questions, go to YouTube, go into the comments section, and you can ask, and I'll do my very best to get it answered in the show today. And if not, this show will get to the 11 o'clock show for the morning hustle. And let's see what else we have on the timeline, because there was some stuff. Whoops, that's not mine. Well, that is my timeline in a certain sense. Let's walk it back here. Girls fuck harder when you take pics. And this is just one of those things that guys that have been around, if you want, girls enjoy being the center of attention, and being in front of a camera brings that out in them. As long as they're confident you're not going to leak this to your buddies or to the internet, girls will let you break out the camera and break out the video, and they will go harder. They'll be more enthusiastic. And it just brings out their best performance, because they know it's going to be recorded. And so that's the real deal. And try to not like put it in their face. That way they can kind of like forget that it's even on. And sometimes that's where, if you just prop up the camera near wherever you're at, or put it on a tripod even, she can forget that it's there. If it's not in your hand, she won't notice it. And I'm not saying do it surreptitiously. This is, everything above board. But again, if you don't have it in your hand, and you can perform better too, but girls will fuck harder when you take pics or run video. It's just one of those things. You can always say, hey, let's try this out. And if you don't have to watch it, because again, girls, after sex, they can't deal with the fact, any of that. So they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to look at it. And that's okay. You say, hey, I want to do this for me so I can, have this memory. And it's fun. And just put it in that position. But she doesn't ever have to look at it. But the right girls will respond well to this. So just always remember that phrase, girls fuck harder when you take pictures or video. There's no downside. You don't have to ask her if she's having a good time. Of course, she's with you. She's having a good time. I'm trying to find something that people react well to in here. I had seen it earlier. And this is one thing that we always try to convey, that you can only realize if you've never ran a rotation, we always suggest it. I'm not saying if you have a girlfriend or a wife right now, but I'm saying if you're on the market, it's actually easier to run multiple girls than it is one. And you always see these guys when they talk about like polyamory or like multiple wives in a marriage, and you see these old guys are like, oh, I can barely deal with the one that I have. Well, the problem is it's harder to deal with one than it is with three, because again, dread, which is a main driver in healthy, happy relationships, where the girl has a little bit of anxiety, that a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of envy for him. She's chasing him in the relationship. And when you have three girls, that keeps that dread, and it's very subtle. It doesn't have to be like, she's like, oh God, he's going to like walk off every day. But it's subtle. It's just a little bit of the relationship. And so when she kind of has that competition anxiety, just a little bit of it, it helps her perform better. Kind of like if you're lifting or you're in sports, it's one thing to train on your own, but having a training partner, you train harder and more consistently. And women are the same way in relationships, because really relationships are women's sports. It's what they compete in. It's what they value. It's what they really care about. And if they have a little bit of competition, they'll tend to perform better. So three girls are actually easier to manage than one girl. Again, you'll have less drama, because girls know men do not care for drama. And if it's just you and her, and she starts loading up the drama on you, and you start reacting badly, what are you going to do? Are you going to go fuck someone else that day? No. But if she knows that you have two other girlfriends or two other wives, you will disengage yourself from the drama and go hang out and bang the one that's better behaved at that moment. So again, you see, it creates a better relationship dynamic just through that subtle, you're still there. You're still her husband. You're still her boyfriend, but she's also competing against the other wives, the other girlfriends, the other girls that are in the rotation. It is actually easier to manage three than one girl. And you kind of have to do this yourself to actually experience it. And then you realize, and again, you'll be a different person when you're banging two or three or four girls in a week. You're just a different person than you are if you've only ever had sex with one girl in a committed relationship until you break up, and then you're in a committed relationship with the next one girl, and you do that 10 times a year. So three girls are easier to manage than one girl. And if you're wondering how to actually do this, I have a book, How to Build Your Rotation, that walks you through how to build a rotation without being deceptive, where the girls all know about each other, and where there's no drama in your life because of this. It keeps the drama to a minimum. And yes, you're going to have to like give and take a little bit on this. A lot of these guys, they're very, how would you say? It's hard for them to imagine this is possible. So you kind of have to like open your mind up that it is possible. And it does happen all the time. And yes, guys do run rotations quite often, and girls are going to come and go. So you have to be okay with that. That's what I wanted to remind you was like, this isn't the best. But if you do want to find just one single quality girl to eventually like get serious with, whatever serious means to you, be it, as a committed monogamous relationship or a wife, running a rotation is usually the best way because it keeps you relaxed. You don't make bad decisions, and the best girls rise to the top. The best girls will stick around because they value you the most. So there's no downside. Even if you're looking for just one girl, juggling 3, 4, 5, 10 at one time, there's no downside. You're going to see their best performance. And then over time, you can move towards a monogamous relationship. But there's really no downside, and it's actually easier. So 3 girls are easier to manage than 1 girl, and that's running a rotation. Again, it's not rocket science, because if I could do it, you can do it. And it does. And then you actually start picking up more girls easier because there's no stink of desperation on you. Girls say they hate drama, and you always see this on like the apps where they say, no drama. But what you also, again, listen to their words, but watch their actions. What do girls actually gravitate towards? They like to watch reality TV shows. They like to watch The Bachelor, where one dude and 12 or 15 girls are all chasing him. They're all battling it out for his affections. Girls love this. They love multiple women competing for one high-value man's attention. They want to be in there. Reality TV shows. They listen to these real crime podcasts, this real stuff, this horrible, horrible way that humans will treat each other. But girls are the major consumers of, like, you go to YouTube, there's huge, and Facebook, huge communities of women that follow real crime. They watch soap operas. Soap operas have been around since television, its inception. Even my sisters back like in the 70s and 80s would like watch, I think it's How the World Turns, or General Hospital. And again, these things go on for decades. These programs have been on for decades. In some manner, and sometimes it's the same program that generations of girls will pass on to their daughters, and their daughters watch it in soap operas. Worship celebrities and breakups. They're the major consumers of all, like Pop News, People Magazine. They love serial killer docs. They love that one guy that's dangerous. Fighting videos and relentless relationship gossip. Girls and bunnies always, I love asking her. So girls' night out, generally 90% of it is spent, maybe even higher than that, talking about their boyfriends, their husbands, what's going on in their relationships. And again, girls start at about 4 or 5, focusing in on boys, where boys don't really discover girls till about 14, 15, 16. And even then, they don't really pay any attention until they're like in their 20s. But girls discover boys and focus in on boys and what are the boys doing and who likes who and who's paying attention to who. And they hang out with their moms talking about the boys, and they hang out with the boys' moms talking about the boys, and they're basically boy crazy at an early age. And you just have to be around them. I have daughters that were like kind of like much more like neutral about it. But they, one is like truly boy crazy. So, and she was like not crazy about it, but still you see it if you know what you're looking at. And the boys are like completely oblivious till they're about 15 or 16. And they kind of notice there's something different about them. And then again, they don't really take it seriously till they're in their 20s. It's really insane. So girls get this jump on guys when it comes to like game. And relationships and managing the opposite sex. And they literally have an unfair advantage. But it's just relentless relationship gossip and picking things apart. And what did he mean by this? And read this text and look at this picture. And what is he? Who is this? Where's he at? It's just nonstop, 24/7. So girls love drama, and you got to give them a little bit. If girls, it's amazing how many guys will say, "Yeah, I thought everything was going great," and then she dropped this bomb on me, because it was going great, because she hadn't had any drama. And all girls have different levels of drama tolerance and need in their life. And even the best wired, the most, male-minded are still going to need a little bit more drama than an average guy. It's just the way they're wired. It's funny how girls can't watch gore scenes comfortably or alone, but still touch themselves with the thought of a murder. That's unfortunately true. It's so many different dynamics going in different directions, and he's the lead character. They like a dangerous man, and they like him to be dangerous around them. I think that's one of the myths too. Is they want the bad guy who's good around them. They actually want the bad guy that's kind of bad around them too. But girls say they hate drama, and you can bet your ass she is a high tolerance, high bring the drama girl, because it's at the front of her mind, and so she puts it in her bio. Again, it's kind of like no hookups. Girls don't put that in their bio initially if they've never been going out, and then on the 5th or 6th or 7th date where they hook up and bang the guy on the first, and then he ghosts. And by about the 5th or 6th time this happens, they go, man, no more hookups. And then they put that in their bio, and then they just keep on hooking up. But at least it makes them feel better. So girls hate drama, but their actions show drama is primo. It's number one with a bullet for most girls. There are low drama. Bunny is a low drama girl. I don't know if it's juggling 3, 4, 5 kids and a job and a family business, but she's not much at all, so it just depends. You don't know, like so many things, kind of like sex. You don't know till you get around the girl. Sometimes her friends can key you in, or, if they're always going on about some type of drama at work or at school, or with their friends. She's going to have a lot of drama with you. There's no exceptions. It's kind of a universal level. Older women hate to see older men happy and dating girls decades younger than himself. And this is just a short version of, and young guys don't like seeing their peers poached. I remember even being in high school, and you'd notice the hottest girls were going out with college guys. And that's just the way it is. And the hottest of the hottest, they're not even in your realm, because they're never around, because they're always going to college stuff. So older women hate to see older men happy and dating girls decades younger. And again, it's competition anxiety. But one thing that I've kind of come to realize is these women, let's say, and we always talk about this your peer group, and most of this happens, let's say a guy's 42, 43 and gets a divorce. The last person you want to date, if you're 43 and you just went through a divorce, is a woman that's 42 or 41 or 40 that are kind of in your peer group, because you're a reminder to her, to every bad man that has come along in her life, and she sees you as an equal. Whereas if you date a girl 10 years younger, there's enough separation, you have enough seniority, you have been around an extra decade of experience. It gives you an advantage, and girls tend to like older men. 10 years is our starting point. But again, your peer group is the worst group. And if you really think about it, these girls, not only do they hate seeing you date and be happy, but they don't want you either. That's the kicker. It's they want everybody to be miserable. because if you put yourself available, they're like, I'm not interested. It's amazing after 40 and, up, how many women, and of course, make no mistake, they're hooking up with someone. They're never really single, but they don't want you to be happy under any circumstances. It's not like they want you to date them. They don't want to date any of their peers. They'll find a problem with you, but they don't want you dating someone and being happy. And that's the problem. Older women hate to see older men happy and dating girls decades younger than themselves. And if you really drill down on these girls, these older women, and I mean that, 40 in their 50s, inevitably, every time I see one of these interviews where she's complaining about her peer group dating women younger, and the interview will say, well, did you date older? Oh, yeah, but I know better now. So it's a universal thing. They did it when they were younger, but it's not okay now that there's a younger crew coming up. There's just a lot of pressure. I don't make any decision, but we always do encourage guys that are hitting their 40s and 50s, especially if they're coming out of a divorce with a woman that they married like when they were 20, to look out beyond age appropriate girls, girls 2-3 years within your range, and go to 10 years out. And you'll find better prospects, people with more energy, happier to see you, just a more positive experience. Ren says that previous line is astute. I think drama explains why they love fame. Yes, girls didn't even like Tupac until they knew who he was. Fame or celebrity is probably the highest level of game, because you get big enough fame and you really don't have to have much game. If you've ever read some of the text from some of these celebrities where they're bringing a girl back to their hotel room, and they're in town, they're in New York City, and they meet somebody out on the street, there is no game. It's just terrible. The worst game. If it's anti-game, it's horrible, and it does not work. But unless you are a well-known, she already knows who you are. And a lot of times, and I've seen one thing common, is a girl say, how do I know you're really, and then the guy will send a picture. He's like, hey, it's me. And she'll be like, okay, I'll be there at 7:00. It's that simple. So fame is a huge game leverage point. Famously, you don't really have to have a whole lot of other game. You don't have to have the other skills. Really, your fame is the hammer. And wealthy and famous, these guys live in a world of abundance when it comes to women that the average player can't really fathom, because it's so unlimited. And one way you can mimic that, if you desire, is working on your local celebrity. You can be a musician. You can be the lead in a local band. You can be a local actor. You can be an expert in your field. Anything that puts you at the front of the room will make you a celebrity. And you'll always see this at conferences, a guy will do a presentation, and then when he's done, there's 7, 8, 10 women wanting to talk to him. And that's, again, girls don't talk to you unless they are open to suggestion. So anything that puts you at the front of the room makes you kind of a minor or local celebrity, and it's always easier to pick women up if you're coming from that position. It's not absolutely necessary, but it makes your life much easier. And celebrity is number one in fame. But again, that kind of goes off on a different tangent. Older women hate to see older men happy, dating girls decades younger than himself. Always keep that in mind. If you're dating women your own age and women younger, don't mention that you're dating younger women. Everything just shuts down. It'll make them so mad. You've just wasted your time and your dime going out. So just keep it to yourself. Again, Bunny and I will be on at the Morning Hustle at 11 a.m. this morning. The same channel, same StreamYard, same YouTube channel, on Twitter, on her Twitter feed, and on my Twitter feed. And if you have any questions, bring them and present them, and we'll do our best to answer them. And we keep it anonymous too. We don't have to put your name out there, but we want to know what's interesting and engaging for you, what your questions are, how we can help you improve your game, pickup, relationships, and sex life. And I hope you guys have a great day.